Hello.
Hello there, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today is a review, retrospective, a 10-year retrospective off the legendary Ricky Rose.
Now you know what the fuck going on.
Huh.
Oh,
Well, as you guys might be able to tell from the tone of my voice, today is my birthday special. It is July 20, 2020, and we're
2020.
recording an album that came out exactly 10 years ago on July 20th, 2010. This album is Teflon Don by the legendary Ricky Rose or Rick Ross. So, released on Maybach Music Group, which is a subsidiary of Def Jam Recordings. This is the fourth album by Rick Ross, and many people consider it his magnus opus, which means that for many, this is the album that put him in a new spotlight in hip hop, put him in a new league with the
Yeah, I would say
likes
so.
of
I would say so, man.
right.
I'm kind of I wasn't hip to Ross until recently, but at the time of this release, the only song that really landed on my radar was Aston Martin music for obvious reasons.
Right, because you're like the number one Drake fanboy I know.
Yes, yes, sir.
Well, this is actually, after doing some digging, this is what's very interesting. Rick Ross's first album, Port of Miami, is his best selling album to date.
Hmm.
Did you know that?
Did not know that. I don't want to believe it.
Well, that is the case. And in fact, I could go as far as to say that the song Hustlin'
Mm.
was the song
Wow.
every day I'm hustling,
Yep.
hustling. And I mean, just think about how old that song is, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's 2006,
Wow.
yet to this day, even though that song came out in 2006, even though no one knew that was really Rick Ross in 2006, that song still has playback appeal today.
It does. It's not even on. You know what? It's in Rick Ross's top 10 on his top list of music when you go to his Spotify, and it's number 6 still to this day, sitting at 100 million streams on Spotify.
Yeah, that is a crazy, crazy number for sure.
Yeah, if you look at the other
And
streams, it wipes out all his other streams for that one song.
yeah, that song is huge. Um, but I would say personally, this was to me, this album and the album that came after, God Forgives I Don't, these three blocks of years from 2010 to 2012, to me, that's Rick Ross's peak. Especially
Peak.
God Forgives peak, man. Peak. That
Wow.
was his peak. Yep. Not in terms of popularity. I'm not saying that. Rick Ross is probably more popular now than he was back in 2010. But it could be fair to say that this was the time when he was just putting out the music that really touched me, that really captivated me personally.
Okay, for sure. I'm with you there. That's
That
that's
makes sense?
yeah, I thought you were speaking generally.
Nope. I was not. I was not.
I was about to say that's a
So
bold
so
claim.
let's talk a little bit about this right now. This is as I said previously, this is considered by many people to be his magnus opus. It is the songs on here are the ones that got him real recognition after hustling because it seemed like he had some tracks with Jay-Z, but especially BMF, Blowing Money Fast, and Aston Martin Music, those two songs, you don't even have to, those songs. I'm pretty sure all of our listeners have heard those two songs, despite the fact that Styles P was a terrible choice of someone to accompany Rick Ross on Blowing Money Fast. But this is what's so interesting is that Ross can rap on tracks by Lex Luger and he can rap on tracks by the likes of Justice League and No ID. I think that that is what makes Rick Ross great. That he is the kind of guy that can hop on these big bang trap bangers and also go on these super smooth flows that are very soul derived and very almost almost disco in some ways, um influenced as well. Would you agree with me? That's his versatility that he brings to the table.
You're absolutely right. I didn't land on disco, but I think I get your sentiment, and what you said is absolutely true. I don't think, and I know Drake has rapped on some Lex Luger type beats, but those were never any of my personal favorite joints. And Rick Ross, I have at least one favorite song in each of those styles of his.
Right. So, I mean, disco maybe not the best way to put it, but chill,
It's sentimental music.
soulful. Yeah, exactly. It's very organic. It's very lush. It's something that you wouldn't expect. Like, I would go as far as to say that if he wanted to work with Madlib, it could work because of
Mm,
how, or if you wanted to work with Dilla,
mm.
it could work because to me, Ross is to date one of the most versatile rappers, and not only that, he's very distinctive. I mean, he's got just in the same way that Gucci Mane has his own stamp on, like, you know exactly you got a Gucci Mane song when you're hearing Gucci Mane.
In
With
production
Ross,
or in the way
no,
they
just
sound.
in the way that he raps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The same thing applies to Ross, except the amazing thing is Ross's voice is so larger than life, man. Like, it's classy. He's a classy rapper. That's what he brands himself as. Rick Ross, think about the song. The name Rick Ross comes from the super famous narcotics trafficker Freeway Rick Ross. And the themes of Miami always come throughout his music. The fact that he's from Miami. And when you think of Miami, you think of luxury cars. You think of, neon lighted streets. You think of beautiful women. You think of, in the case, jewelry. And he's the only rapper I know that really represents this lush, expensive taste lifestyle better than any other rapper that I can think of.
Yeah, I think what Rick Ross did in this album and in his whole career is exactly what we did with Scarface and The Godfather, right? Just we've glamorized this gangster lifestyle.
Right.
Glamorize is exactly what we did.
Exactly. And talking about that particular kind of hip hop could be called mafioso rap, and that's where Scarface comes into play, and Raekwon and Notorious B.I.G. and Jay-Z all kind of pointed themselves. I mean, this song is called Teflon Don.
Yeah.
And we all know Don is a narco sting. It's where guys in Colombia and under the cartels called each other, which, Freeway Rick Ross, all of the biggest American traffickers like Boston George, like Freeway Rick Ross, they were all affiliated with the Colombian cartels, smuggling drugs through either mostly through Miami, right? So Miami was that cocaine capital of America. And that, like, that the wanting to be a don, the wanting to be, have that luxurious lifestyle that the Latinos brought into the drug game is very different than the way that American rappers are portrayed, which is that they're street hustlers, which is that they sell rock on the corner, right? Rick Ross wanted to take this image of being a trapper, but make it nice and fancy and eloquent. And he does that so very well in his music.
Hmm. Are you, is he the first one to do that, or was somebody like, oh, you know what? I was thinking either I didn't listen to too much Big Daddy Kane, but was he supposed to be a nice, big old glamorous
No,
drug dealer?
Big Daddy Kane was to me more of the pimpin' genre.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't say so much the mafia type thing. Like, even think about Maybach Music Group, the way that they take their pictures, the way that they have their insignias is all kind of really mafioso like, right? And to me, Scarface is the guy who was the first one. I'm gonna say he's the first one to really take this to a whole genre
Okay.
on its own.
Yep.
But Scarface Scarface's music is different. Scarface's music is it's a different era, and he did, there was no expensive music video budgets to do what Rick Ross was doing through his
Right.
music videos.
I would say the closest around this time frame or before that was we can kind of say these it if it didn't spark there, it definitely started there. Was Clips. Cl-
But Clips is different.
In what way? From
Clips is flashy. Clips is bling bling. I mean, they're both bling bling, but Clips is
it's
more.
more to the street,
It's
whereas
more to the
yeah,
streets.
and then I think I get you, man. The Rick Ross image is he is the guy that 10 motherfuckers gotta you gotta go through 10 people to get to him,
Yeah, he wants to be the Pablo Escobar. He
right?
wants to be the Felix Gallardo. He wants to be the Amado Fuentes. He wants to be the El Chapo. Like he wants to be the dude and the Don, right? He wants to be the Don. I don't think Clips was looking at themselves like no malice wasn't going around saying I'm the Don. So
Mm,
that's a little bit different. And so, but think about it this way: I think about all people that come from Miami always got a big like a big love and respect for the movie Scarface,
yeah,
particularly Tony Montana. Have you watched that movie?
yeah, on Blu-ray.
Right. And so and Tony Montana, like the the I think it was in the movie Paid in Full, where it's a movie about Harlem in the late 1980s. And there's a scene where the movie Scarface comes out, and he was saying everyone in Harlem, everyone in the hood loved this movie because it was about a poor Cuban immigrant coming to America who came from absolutely nothing and made something out of his life. And of course, that was moving cocaine for I believe Santana. I think that's his name was Santana. Within I could be wrong, but I believe the name was Santana in Colombia, and so I think that was that played a huge role in the way that Rick Ross wanted to create his image, just specifically that kind of '80s Miami vice sort of feel.
Right, right. And that's all I think about when I listen to this music. I just think about Miami, man. Top down,
Yeah.
soft
So
top.
another one thing I really love about Rick Ross is, yeah, he does rap on these like Lex Luger type beats as previously mentioned, but he has a very cinematic feel to his albums as well, especially God Forgives I Don't and this one Teflon Don. Just listening to Maybach Music 3 with T.I., Jada Kiss, and Erica Baidu, who I think all three did an incredible job on this feature, he always opts for real instruments. And I love that. He goes for a real drum set. Even within the song Super High by Neo, which is like, one of my favorites off the album, he chooses like such a soulful, nice driving bass guitar to be the primary melody of the song. And so I always appreciated that Rick Ross loves to have the music sound as if he had a backing band to it.
Right. I think that's an interesting it's interesting that you brought that up because his voice is so big that you can put a big old band behind him and he'll match the energy of all the instruments. You can't do that with a lot of artists. And when we were listening to MC Hammer with Gucci Mane, as big as those drums are, I really feel like Gucci Mane's voice didn't really complement the beat as much as Ross did, and Gucci Mane, I don't know if that was just his flow in just that song, but I don't know. I don't know if his voice can really even match the energy of a song like that, like a Lex Luger type beat like that.
I had a very different perspective. My perspective was that when it comes to a Lex Luger Zaytoven type beat, there's no one better in the business to give it to than Waka Flocka or Gucci Mane.
Right.
And but that's not that's not what Rick Ross is about. He's about the versatility and being able to hop on a track like that, but then also go on Tears of Joy with CeeLo Green, which is like, you know, talk hearing that song is soulful as fuck.
Yeah, I enjoyed that joy, man.
Right. What are your let's go into the primary track of the album, the number one single, Aston Martin Music. We both heard this a lot. But I'm sure as you kind of I'm no, I think we've heard this song every year we've lived since it came out just because of how big the song is, right?
Yeah.
But when you took some time to really sit down with it, just tell me what your thoughts were.
Aston Martin music or the whole.
Aston Martin Music specifically.
So taking a second listen in the context of the album, it didn't it didn't change much about the song. And as somebody that listens to whole albums, you know what I mean? I think listening to all the songs that sit around one particular song changes how I view that one particular song where it's located in the album. But for this particular album, that song following BMF was a great relief, right? Especially having it towards the end, it really does kind of calm you down. Finishing it off with a song that features Raphael Sadiq, so he obviously wanted a clear resolution to the album.
And I didn't like that song. And I do like Raphael Sadiq, and I understand that what's so great about him is that he's got this very interesting voice, kind of like Sade, where he kind of sits in the middle between like a very feminine voice and a very masculine voice. He's right in the middle, but I thought they could have just ended the album with Aston Martin Music
Yeah,
because I think that was such a good way to end the whole thing.
that I really didn't like the song. I as I was hearing the song, I just
You're
imagined
talking about All the Money in the World, right?
all the
Just
money in the
just
world. Yeah,
not Aston Martin Music. Okay.
right, right. So for all the money in the world, man, it sounded like Ross had a track and sent it to Raphael, and then he kind of ad libbed on top of it. But I can see the vision. We watched an interview where someone was describing how Rick Ross makes his music, and he seems to be much of a planner. The moment he hears a song, he can imagine, okay, who would sound tight on this, and then go off like that. So I think that was the same process for this song, but it just wasn't executed well.
Right, right. And talking about that, the whole idea of being a mastermind, I think the first song, I'm Not a Star, was a great way to start the album. And, I think he recognized that this was such a strong way to start an album that he lended the exact same idea to Lil Wayne's song, John, which was one of the primary singles off of the Carter 4. And I do like John more as a song, but I'm Not a Star, it is a great way to open the album. And once again, that production duo or trio, Justice League, I'm very impressed with what they're able to do in all context of the album.
Yeah, I wonder if so before coming into the album, if they've ever worked with an artist like Rick Ross before this. I haven't done that kind of research on them, but I think the way that they mixed Lex Luger with a Justice League all within the same album, I think it transitioned well. I didn't question any part of the album. Um, Besides a couple songs that I didn't like, but I didn't question the layout of the album as it was formatted.
Yeah, and talking about features, right? Because this album is there's a feature on every song except the first one. What was surprising for me was the best features are not the ones that I thought were going to be the best features. In fact, I think Freemason with Jay-Z and Live Fast Die Young with Kanye West were not even on the top 5 of my tracks on the album. They just felt like, okay, I got to get a song with Kanye.
Mm.
I got to get a song with Jay-Z and it's going to be good. But for me, I think the Kanye feature was weak, and I think the Jay-Z feature could have it was just nowhere as good as like some of the other ones on here. I think the best features for me were uh Chrissy Michelle,
Percent.
who was
Yeah.
on, is that how you say her name?
That's how I've always heard it.
Chrissy Michelle on Aston Martin Music. That was an A1 feature. Neo on Super
Yeah, I
High,
like that one. Yeah, fuck yeah.
A1 feature. And surprisingly, on I mean, CeeLo Green was pretty good on Tears of Joy, but Maybach Music 3 with T.I., Jada Kiss, and Erica Badu. I'm trying to
Baidu,
not
yeah.
say
You
it. I'm
always
not
hit the
trying to.
buy.
I've always hit the Baidu, man. It's because I'm in the tech world. But Maybach Music 3 with T.I., Jada, and Badu, they all didn't play a huge role, but they all played a good role.
Yeah, Erica's voice in that song sounded very different to a lot of the songs that were coming out like at the time, but she hits that I don't even know how to describe it, but she hits that tone in a handful of recent songs off of her last mixtape. But the textures, man, it's each of their voices super different. But it just is with so many features on one song, 4 minutes for the whole song, and there's four people on the track. Each person pretty much, I guess on average, you could say had a minute, you know what I mean, to say their piece. But it was a great compilation of people to put together. Curation actually. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the other features were not bad. You know, for instance, like Number One, which is a song with Diddy and Trey Songs. That song is interesting because it has that, at that time I would call it like bounce. It has a really good bounce
It has
to
a
it.
Diddy Bop type bounce, man. Just that
It
was
reminds me, yeah, it reminds me of Travis Porter.
mm, go on. I don't
Y-
listen to
eh,
Travis Porter really.
But you know Travis Porter at the time they had that like
Yeah, yeah, that song.
that type of clapping, bouncing, like twerking, Diplo, type of shit. And I think they kind of were doing that on Number One. I don't know if it worked out too well, but I do appreciate it. And so what's crazy to me is how the most popular artists at that time at 2010 did not have the best features. And it was in fact the less popular artists, like for instance Drake 2010. I don't even know if he's top 5 in terms of the popular. He was not Trey Songz level in 2010, that's for sure.
Hey, he was everybody was talking about Drake in 2010. Everybody was talking about Drake in 2009. It wasn't until like if you heard So Far Gone by this time, you were still part of the new, you know what I mean,
Right.
listening to who was new coming out. Um and so having this on cuz and I know damn well they recorded it. They'd had to record it sometime in '09 or something or early 2010. And so yeah, it was still early and having unknown people pretty much at this point. They're still pretty early in this career, in their career, Drake and Chris and Michelle. Just that being probably one of the more biggest songs out of the album showed just how well the actual uh composition of that song is. You know? It's just a great fucking song. And I think the casting of the voices on that song was perfect.
Yeah, man. And I think a couple, Ross, I do like Ross um and Drake together. And let's talk about some other songs they made together. Free Spirit, right? Is Money to Blow him or Birdman?
Money in the Grave? You talking about
No,
that
Money
song?
to Blow.
Oh, I don't
It
know.
might be it might be Birdman, but they, when they're together, they make good music. Like I've never heard a bad Rick Ross and Drake song. And talking about, I know we get back to this because he's obviously, what the feature is so interesting is because this is Drake somewhat early in his career. You mentioned that he sounds forced when he's trying to sing.
Mm.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so this song was like around the time of trust issues. Um and in Aston Martin music where he had that like it's almost like a vocal fry. You ever heard of vocal fry? A lot of people say,
Right.
a lot of people describe the California Valley girl talk as being like this. And so when Drake was singing around this time, he had like he had like a woulda came back for like he
Almost annoying. It's the reasons why people didn't
yeah,
like him, right?
and he was singing too hard, but maybe he's got at the time like he got a lot of shit for it, so I think he just doubled down on the singing around this time. And he might have been finished with Take Care by the time this song came out. He might have just dropped it, right? I think it came out
2011. I don't think Take
2000.
Care was
Okay.
out yet.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he might have still been working on that sound and he still had that he had similar moments in Take Care, but in Take Care I think was a lot more developed. And then by the time he got to probably 2013, 2014, nothing was the same. I think that's when his singing really was a lot more mature.
Hmm. As far as it's interesting because Rick Ross has singers and he has rappers, right? Um, who do you think the best singers were that he featured? I think Drake might have been the weakest one, but like, do you think it's
So,
John Legend? Do you think it was Trey Songz? Do you think it was
right.
Neo,
I think
CeeLo Green? Who do you think it was that complimented Rick Ross the most
it had to have been Neo, and I think that was good to put Neo on that particular song. There's something
on
about
Super High?
right, yeah, the way that song sounds. Neo is perfect for that, and Wale did something similar in damn, it might have been Ambition. Where it's a big jazz band. I would consider it close to the style of a Frank Sinatra look. You know, there's a suit, there's a hat. You know, obviously Neo got to have the hat on, and dancing with a microphone that looks like an old '50s type. You know what I mean? That's exactly the style that Neo I think sings well on, and I mean I think that fits perfectly with the vibe of Rick Ross was trying to go for in this album. And so for this album, I'm saying the best singing feature that he had was Neo. The execution on that joint was perfect.
Hmm. Yeah, I think the most recognizable and the biggest artist on here that was the singing feature was the uncredited John Legend
Which song?
on Freemason with
Oh,
Jay-Z.
wow. You know what? I think I did hear him in the background.
Right, and yet I think Neo was the best choice,
Yeah.
and I agree with you on that. I think he did a better job than Trey Songz, than Drake,
Oh, can we go back to the
for
Kanye
sure.
joint real quick?
Yeah, let's go back to it.
Because I got this feeling from the song that Kanye took over the song.
Production wise,
J-
or what are
in
you thinking?
in both, you know, he and it almost felt like he had a little bit more solos than than I personally would like. I mean, you know, that song is not a good song.
Right,
Can
but
we-
this is Kanye West during the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy era of Kanye West, right? Like I would
yeah.
think that this is when Kanye was all about, and when we think about that album, that's the maximalist album of Kanye West. That's the bravado, the I want to expand and do as much as possible in one track Kanye West, and he kind of did not hit the nail with that one for sure.
Yeah, not with this song, man. I don't know, it sounded like a Kanye song that should have never was released.
Well, it's a Kanye song that was not good enough to put Rick Ross to put on his album. He had to take the better one, which is Devil in a New Dress.
Hmm.
And so he gave the leftover one to Rick Ross to put on his album, right?
I'll go with that. I'll take that.
Because Devil in a Blue Dress is a fucking incredible song that
Yeah.
I still play today off of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Right, right.
But yeah, I mean, these are my thoughts. Um, Overall, I'm gonna say definitely, this definitely has playback appeal. This is one of MMG Maybach Music Group's best albums to date that they've done. There's something that's so refreshing about the fact that Rick Ross is able to merge two worlds together of that street trap, but at the same time, this silky smooth leather car seat
Mm.
Miami Beach vibe as well.
Cigar smoke.
And Sicario with cigar smoke, and it's just extravagant. It's got a lot of emotional depth to it, and he murders really good beats, man, without over murdering them. He just does a really good job of making each song his.
Right, right. Yeah, so take a hey, I say, and I'm pretty sure we both can say, listen to this damn album if you haven't already.
Yep, listen to this one and God Forgives I Don't, which we will do a review in 2 years. Those are his two best ones in my humble opinion.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for listening. That's our take on Teflon Don by Rick Ross. That album is 10 years old today. Go check that out. Once again, it's the Rap Geeks. My name is Aaron,
And
aka
my name is
Lizzie
Sean.
Baby, aka Lizzie Don't Fucking Hurt Him, aka Goddamn Playback Baby, aka listen again to us, please. We appreciate the fuck out of y'all. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Sean. Let them know who the hell you are and where they can find you.
What's up? This is Sean. Thank you so much for listening to Playback Appeal. You can subscribe to us at Playback Appeal. You can find us anywhere where podcasts are located. And if you like our stuff, please give us a follow. Please give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till next time.
Playback, 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 playback. Yeah, yeah.